Hello friends, this is Roxanne, and today, I'm going to recap the 2023 action-adventure fantasy anime called Record of Ragnarok Season 2 Episode 1. But before that, it's my humble request to every person who is watching this, please like this video and share it with your friends. Gaul notes that humanity won their first fight and it's 2-1 now, Brunhild confirms, but states the gods can't allow themselves to lose a second fight in a row and will use someone strong. Gaul wonders out loud who the gods could possibly send out as their next champion. Just then, Heracles appears, emanating a powerful aura and declares that he will be the one to fight for the gods. Gaul excitedly jumps onto Heracles' arms, glad to see him. As Heracles prepares to leave for his next match, Brunhild kneels and wishes him luck. After Heracles leaves, Loki arrives and notes that Heracles seems to be close with the Valkyries. He guesses that it could be because he and the Valkyries are half-breed demigods. Heracles smiles and declares that mortals are formidable opponents, and as a champion of the gods and a warrior, it is his duty to engage in a worthy battle. However, he makes it clear that he is against the extermination of humanity. Despite this, he has no intention of losing and, if he does, he will petition for humanity to be saved. Loki notes that he is unsure of which side to take. Heracles leaves, asserting that he is on the side of righteousness. Gaul is unsure of who to root for. She ponders who could possibly stand a chance against Heracles, and Brunhild reveals that it has already been decided. The chosen fighter is a mortal, a scoundrel among scoundrels. Upon hearing this, Gaul realizes who Brunhild is referring to, the sadistic killer, Jack the Ripper. The crowd in the arena watches in anticipation as the stage transforms into a replica of the gritty streets of Victorian London. The fight between Heracles and Jack the Ripper is about to begin. Heimdall announces that Heracles is a symbol of righteousness and honor, going up against the embodiment of evil and corruption in humanity. As Heracles makes his way to the ring, he can't help but feel a sense of disgust and anger towards his opponent. He turns to Brunhild, an organizer of the battles, and demands to know why he must fight such a heinous criminal. He recalls the previous fighters, Lubu, Adam and Kojiro Sasaki, all of whom were worthy opponents and capable of moving the hearts of the gods. But Jack the Ripper is different. He was a sadistic murderer who preyed on innocent women, and Heracles cannot understand why he must fight such a scumbag. The crowd, made up of representatives from humanity, also seems uncertain about their champion. As the fight begins, Arthur Conan Doyle, the famous detective novelist, smokes his pipe and reflects on the dark history of Jack the Ripper. He recounts how, during the second half of the 19th century, a series of gruesome murders occurred in London, with the victims being young women who had been brutally killed with a sharp object. The Metropolitan Police had vowed to catch the killer, but to this day, his identity remains a mystery. Arthur declares that the mystery of Jack the Ripper is so profound that even his famous detective could not solve it. He speaks of his own failed attempts to uncover the identity of the notorious serial killer. Heracles, the champion of the gods, stands before Jack the Ripper in the transformed arena that now resembles the streets of London. He urges Jack to admit defeat, promising to petition Zeus for mercy and spare him from the underworld of Niflhel. Heracles makes it clear that while he despises senseless killing, he will not hesitate to kill Jack if necessary. Jack, however, refuses to surrender. He thanks Heracles for agreeing to change the arena and for giving him the opportunity to duel in a gentlemanly fashion. Suddenly, Jack reaches behind his back and brings out two large, golden blades. The audience is confused as to whether Jack is a dual-wielding swordsman, but their confusion turns to shock as Jack combines the two blades to create a giant pair of scissors. He introduces this weapon, Valendra, as his divine weapon, capable of tearing anything to pieces. To demonstrate its power, Jack effortlessly cuts a streetlight in half. Jack calls the divine weapon exquisite for being able to tear anything to pieces. Ares and Hermes watch as Jack unveils his scissor-like weapon, both of them marveling at its strange design. Heracles, determined to face off against this opponent, readies himself for battle. However, to everyone's surprise, Jack turns tail and runs away. Loki can't help but laugh at Heracles' confusion, as the demigod gives chase. Following Jack down an alleyway, Heracles finds him at the end, calmly pouring himself a cup of tea at a small cafe. Jack explains that it's nearly tea time and that a gentleman always enjoys a cup of tea. Heracles, growing impatient, demands that Jack draw his weapon. But Jack, unperturbed, continues to sip his tea and comments on the fine quality of the Darjeeling. Heracles approaches, ready to strike, but abruptly stops when he nearly steps on a faint wire. Recognizing it as a trap, Heracles snaps the wire, causing a shower of knives to fly at him from all directions. As the knives bent on impact, Heracles couldn't help but question if Brunhild had forgotten to mention that mortal weapons couldn't harm gods. Jack, taking a sip of his tea, revealed that he already knew this but wanted to test it for himself. Heracles, lifting his club, ordered Jack to leave. Jack simply replied with a polite, "Certainly," before pulling out a gun from beneath his cloak. Heracles prepared for the worst, but was surprised when the bullet turned out to be a hook attached to a long string. Jack used the hook to grapple onto a nearby building. The giant scissors attached to his arm as he began to make his escape using another grappling gun. As Gaul notes Jack's tendency to flee, Heracles becomes determined to end the battle. He gathers immense strength in his legs, causing the ground to crack beneath him. With a powerful leap, Heracles brings his club crashing down towards Jack in midair. Jack retaliates by attempting to cut the club with his seemingly fragile scissors, but Heracles' immense power shatters them to pieces. Humanity watches in despair, calling out Jack's unreliability. Heracles declares the battle over and the serial killer backs against a wall, seemingly defeated. But in a last-ditch effort, Jack pulls out a hoard of knives from his pouch and flings them at Heracles. The god of fortitude reminds Jack that man-made weapons cannot harm him. But to his shock, the knives pierce his flesh. Ares, Hermes, Zeus, Shiva, Loki, and Arthur look on in shock as Heracles struggles to comprehend how he could be harmed by such weapons. Jack reveals that the scissors were not his true weapon, only a decoy. Since the last time Heracles faced Jack, he didn't bother defending himself, assuming that the knives wouldn't hurt him again. Jack taunts Heracles for falling for his trap, revealing that his Volander, or weapon, is actually his pouch which can create divine weapons, but nothing larger than itself. He boasts that everything he creates is made to order, and that is the true essence of a gentleman. The humans watching the battle are in awe, while the gods call Jack a coward. Gaul questions Brunhild on why she chose such a man, to which she replies that humanity excels in one thing more than the gods, malice. She explains that the personification of malice will tear into the heart of even the most righteous god. Holding up his knives, Jack tells Heracles to tremble before him. As the battle between Jack the Ripper and Heracles rages on, Heimdall declares that the personification of humanity year-long malice has finally pierced history's greatest hero. Heracles, unfazed by the attack, pulls out all the knives from his body and crushes them, stating that if this is the extent of Jack's malice, then he'll simply crush it all. Jack, not to be outdone, reaches into his pouches and brings out a number of knives, throwing them at Heracles with precision. Heracles manages to bat each knife away, but Jack's throws become more and more intricate, bending in an arc and getting around Heracles' defenses, ultimately piercing him. As Jack continues to hurl knives at Heracles, Heimdall observes that the demigod has been forced to defend himself. In the crowd of humanity, a group of criminals cheer on Jack, egging him on to kill another god for them. They mock Heracles, claiming he is too scared to move. But Ares dismisses their taunts and urges them to look closer. It becomes apparent to Heimdall that, while Jack has been throwing knives, Heracles has been steadily advancing, taking the attacks head-on. With his club raised, Heracles orders Jack the Ripper to be gone. But Jack reaches into his pouches and takes out 2 parts of an umbrella. He quickly assembles them and opens it. Jack is able to block Heracles' attack with an umbrella and spin it to deflect the attack into the ground. He reveals to Heracles that he is not a normal kind of coward, and the two begin to learn more about each other as they fight. As the battle continues, the tattoo on Heracles' body begins to grow. As Heracles readied himself for his next move, Ares couldn't help but question the power he was about to unleash. With a deep breath, Heracles called upon the might of the Nemean lion. His tattoo began to spread across his right arm, and the lion head on his club grew larger. Activating the Herculean Exodus, Heracles unleashed the first labor Nemean lion, striking the ground with his club and unleashing a powerful shockwave in the shape of a lion. Jack, caught off guard, attempted to defend himself with his umbrella, but it was no match for the force of the attack and was crushed as he was thrown against the wall with tremendous force. The gods and citizens of Thebes erupt into cheers. Gaul praises Heracles for his strength, but Brunhild warns that the fight is far from over. Jack, who had been knocked against a wall, gets back up and praises Heracles for his impressive move. As he fixes his dislocated shoulder, he quotes a line from Shakespeare's play Macbeth: "The labor we delight in is physics pain." Heracles is confused by the quote, but Arthur Conan Doyle and William Shakespeare recognize it and wonder if Jack is a fan of Shakespeare's work. Shakespeare reflects on how his words were unable to stop Jack's killing, and Jack declares the first act of the fight to be superb before readying a large pocket knife for the second act. And this brings the anime to an end. Comment for part 2. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.